On the topic of Sony's first-party franchises, let's look into the company's past. We're not talking about PS3 franchises like Resistance and Uncharted, but let's go back to the PS2 generation. During this era, there were a number of first-party franchises that spawned, such as Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, Jak, and more. As far as today, there are some franchises that look like they might not have gotten sequels at all, Sly Cooper being one of them. Back in the PS2 generation, Sly Cooper got 3 main games, all within a couple years of each other. However, an 8-year gap went by before they finally released a new game. Sly Cooper 4 released on the PS3 and PS Vita 8 years after the release of Sly Cooper 3. Having officially released, and the target of last month's giveaway, here's my official review of the PS Vita and PlayStation TV compatible game, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. The Sly Cooper series is centered around 3 main characters: Sly Cooper, a famous thief; Bentley, a turtle that hacks computer terminals; and the Murray, whom is a giant hippo that is a very strong ally. The 3 of them are friends, and after the events of Sly 3, the group had been disbanded. However, when Sly finds out that his family history is being erased from the timeline, they all get back together in a time machine that Bentley created, and they travel back in time to various eras to find Sly's ancestors and find out who is going and trying to alter the time. Sanzaro Games made this to be for veterans of the series and for newcomers alike. The game does a really nice job at explaining the characters, so you don't have to have played the first 3 games to dive into Thieves in Time. The story also has a lot of comedy in it, so if you want a humorous story to go with your platforming, this is definitely a good way to go. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time is a 3D platform with a lot of different elements thrown into the mix. There are combat elements, platforming elements, stealth elements, and the mini games you have to do, especially when you're hacking terminals, can go into a lot of different genres. Off the top of my head, I know it goes into the side-scrolling shooter genre, the twin-stick shooter genre, as well as the rhythm genre. There's a lot of different things thrown into the mix, but as a whole, and at the core gameplay, Sly Cooper 4 is a 3D platformer. When you're playing through the game, you will have a hideout and you will have hub worlds for each timeline you go to. The hideout will have all the different characters you can play as. You can go out into the hub world to play as. It also has a computer terminal where you can upgrade and buy skills from medals you get from defeated enemies. And it also has a few areas for minigames and an area where you can replay past missions. Now, in the hub worlds, there are a couple different things you can do. You can do missions, which require a specific character, or you can just explore the large hub world to defeat enemies, collect collectible items, unlock content, and do whatever you want. When you're on a mission, you will be in the same hub worlds, albeit some missions take you inside buildings you wouldn't otherwise be able to explore, but they require a specific character, and what you do in it can vary. The different characters you can play as have different types of missions you can go through. Sly Cooper's missions mostly rely on stealth and boss fights. The Murray's missions rely more on combat, and Bentley's missions rely more on puzzle solving with going in and hacking terminals. This gives the game a little bit of diversity, so you're not doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. When you're on the missions, you will have objectives. As I noted, there are stealth elements in the game, and I think this really helps it stand out among other 3D platformers. Some games will say, sneak past these guards, and then you can just run past the guards, let them alert you, and just outrun them into the next area. In Sly Cooper 4, though, some stealth missions are set in a way that you cannot alert them even once, or the mission will automatically fail. Now, all in all, the game has about 10 to 15 hours of content. You can probably clear the main story in about 10 hours, and if you want to go and collect all of the trophies and collectibles to get the secret ending, you can spend about 15 hours. For a 3D platformer, this is a very lengthy game. The only thing I'll say about the controls is that it's nice that Sanzaro Games patched it to work on the PlayStation TV. When you're playing on the PS TV, there are a lot of different controls available to you. The touchscreen and the tilt features are redirected to the buttons, specifically the L2 and R2 buttons, for costume changes and other touchscreen controls. Now, the awkward thing about the controls are the tilt controls in some of the hacking minigames. When you go through this, the tilt controls will be pretty hard to get used to. Once you get used to them, they're not that bad to use, but overall, they're going to be awkward no matter how often you've used them. Now, as far as the presentation is concerned, Sly Cooper 4 looks pretty good on the Vita. There is the occasional jagged edge around the character models, but you likely won't even see it unless you're looking for it. Tied with the fact that there aren't any lag issues, the presentation does pretty well for itself. The only hindrance on the presentation is the load times. When you load a new mission or a new area, you could be waiting up to 20 or 30 seconds, if not longer, for something to load. This isn't the case with every load time, but it is worth mentioning because those load times can get pretty long. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time is the latest entry of the Sly Cooper franchise. On the downside, the load times can be pretty lengthy at times, and the tilt controls can be very awkward to get used to. Outside of this is a very solid and entertaining platformer, whether you're a veteran of the series or a newcomer. PlayStation Vita Reviews rates Sly Cooper Thieves in Time an 8 out of 10. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to in the comments below, or head to our forum and site at vitareviews.net and forum.vitareviews.net.